At least to me, it seems everywhere you turn, iron-clad sports nutrition brands of the past are now showing huge cracks in their armor. So then, why does the industry appear shocked by the recent Iovate Health Sciences International news? For those that haven't already read the headlines, last week, Iovate Health Sciences International filed voluntary petitions for protection under Chapter 15 of the Bankruptcy Code. And because I've previously examined and created content pieces on numerous of these corporate actions, I already know the word bankruptcy is highly misunderstood and almost universally gets tons of negativity placed on it. Also, in this particular case, it probably doesn't help that Chapter 15 is not a well-known chapter, as it was added only 2 decades earlier when the Bankruptcy Abuse Prevention and Consumer Protection Act was signed into law. But unlike other chapters that address domestic bankruptcies, Chapter 15 doesn't involve a full liquidation or reorganization of the debtor through the U.S. court system. Instead, Chapter 15 is an administrative process to grant U.S. recognition to the foreign proceeding designed to facilitate cross-border insolvency cases involving debtors, creditors, and assets in multiple countries. Thus, Iovate Health Sciences International is utilizing the bankruptcy proceedings to stabilize its operations and pursue an orderly cross-border restructuring because, if you didn't realize, the parent company of supplement brands like Hydroxycut and MuscleTech is headquartered in Oakville, Ontario, Canada. So while the Canadian courts have different definitions related to its Bankruptcy and Insolvency Act, simplistically, you can think about these current Iovate proceedings like Chapter 11 bankruptcy in the U.S. court system, which is essentially a reorganization plan that both the court and the creditors must approve. But that's probably enough with the bankruptcy law formalities, as I'm sure there are tons of Google or AI queries that can help you nerd out even more. However, before getting into the pertinent details surrounding this bankruptcy, how about we quickly walk down memory lane, which will also provide contextually relevant details for anyone not familiar with the 30-year history of Iovate Health Sciences International. Founded in 1995, Iovate initially began as MuscleTech Research and Development, launching as a direct-to-consumer mail-order business with just 3 products, one of which was the original Hydroxycut formula. A year later, MuscleTech expanded into physical retailers like GNC, and then soon after launched the infamous CellTech product along with Nitro-Tech, quickly becoming the first and probably only occurrence in supplement industry history that a single brand owned the top-selling fat burner, creatine, and protein powder products simultaneously. And for those that weren't lucky enough to experience it firsthand, I'm sorry, but you'll never truly understand what it felt like being a suburban kid playing sports in the early 2000s with this unwavering need for you and your dad to head to the nearest GNC store location, convinced that the MuscleTech product stack of CellTech and Nitro-Tech that you saw in your fitness magazines could substantially change your prospects of becoming a professional athlete. But while Iovate continually evolved its family of sports nutrition and wellness brands throughout the 21st century, the current portfolio includes the beforementioned MuscleTech and Hydroxycut, which eventually got spun off into a standalone brand, but also 6-Star Pro Nutrition and Purely Inspired. And I can continue being nostalgic and overly positive by sharing numerous commercial highlights, such as more than 100 million bottles of Hydroxycut sold, or 6-Star Pro Nutrition was America's #1 selling sports nutrition brand in large tracked channels, but that wouldn't tell the entire business story. In fact, a central reason for changing the company name to Iovate Health Sciences International resulted from asset transfers surrounding an original MuscleTech Research and Development bankruptcy filing in June 2005, which got triggered after it faced thousands of lawsuits, mostly related to Hydroxycut products containing ephedra. Moreover, in May 2009, the FDA warned consumers to immediately stop using Hydroxycut products, noting some products are associated with a number of serious liver injuries. And even though Iovate quickly announced a voluntary recall of Hydroxycut branded products sold in the United States, it obviously faced many lawsuits associated with the numerous reports of serious health problems. And I can go on and mention many other lawsuit settlements and reputational blunders, but I think the pendulum has swung far enough back towards a midpoint. But in 2016, Xiwang Foodstuffs acquired Iovate Health Sciences International for reportedly north of $500 million. At the time, Iovate distributed across all major US sales channels, as well as in more than 140 countries worldwide. And the press release announcing the deal stated this strategic partnership with well-established consumer products leaders Xiwang Foodstuffs provides Iovate with the unique opportunity to accelerate international growth, particularly in the Chinese market. So what happened? Trust me, I'm not trying to complicate this business story more than it needs to be, but Xiwang Foodstuffs wasn't immune to experiencing its own version of financial distress. In fact, it was significantly impacted by the parent company Xiwang Group defaulting on $142 million in debt securities and settling through the Chinese bankruptcy process about 4 to 5 years ago. But while the parent company was in financial crisis, the publicly listed subsidiary Xiwang Foodstuffs continued operating, yet the most recent annual report showed a year-over-year decrease in revenue and a net loss of over $60 million. And while there's much more to the what happened question, maybe this is the ideal transition back towards the recent bankruptcy court filings. In June 2021, Iovate entered into an amended and restated credit agreement with the Royal Bank of Canada, providing a revolving credit facility and a term loan facility, which was then re-amended, I think 10 more times, most recently in February 2025. And as of August 31st of 2025, Iovate owed around $116 million in secured debt to the Royal Bank of Canada. Additionally, Iovate is a debtor on a series of unsecured promissory notes totaling around $12.5 million with various Xiwang Group subsidiaries. Lastly, Iovate has current trade payables that are estimated to be around an additional $24.5 million. And who is the largest trade payable on that extensive list of creditors, representing slightly more than half of the total amount owed? It would be the organic nutritional products brand Orgain, which as of 2022 is now majority owned by Nestle Health Science. Admittedly, this level of creditor detail isn't usually something I broadcast, but it's a key component of this Iovate bankruptcy storyline. While the legal battle wasn't publicized much, Orgain filed a trade dress infringement lawsuit against Iovate, alleging that the purely inspired brand mimicked the Orgain packaging. Then in April 2024, a US court ordered Iovate to pay Orgain $12.5 million for copying its product labeling. But after Iovate failed to pay, Orgain obtained a writ of garnishment against Walmart, which withheld approximately $8 million in outstanding accounts receivable payments, severely impacting the working capital of Iovate. And as you'd imagine, the liquidity crunch ended up being a central reason why Iovate defaulted on its secured debt with the Royal Bank of Canada. So following extensive discussion with key stakeholders, Iovate determined that it was in the best interest of preserving enterprise value, protecting their relationships with key customers, and safeguarding its approximately 180 employees to commence a bankruptcy proceeding that pursues an orderly restructuring under the supervision of the Canadian court and to seek recognition, therefore, of in the United States. But while the protracted legal battle with Orgain might have been the straw that broke the camel's back, it hardly explains everything. However, in all honesty, explaining every up and down within the company's 30-year existence and enormous shifts in marketplace dynamics that the sports nutrition segment of the supplement industry has undergone would require expanding this content into a full-length Netflix docuseries, though maybe this presentation slide might help summarize a good portion of it. See, after Iovate went through a CEO change in 2020, I was asked to speak at their national commercial meeting the following year, and this legacy brands on life support slide was included within that presentation. MuscleTech was, without a doubt, the most powerful sports nutrition brand in the gatekeeper dinosaur era. They controlled attention within print magazines and drove huge velocities at specialty retailers like GNC. Yet, especially within the last 10 to 15 years, barriers to entry, whether supply chain, marketing communications, or sales channels, lowered astronomically, disseminating power dynamics and causing massive competitive proliferation. Also, imagine this huge pot that's melting together what seems like heightened macro shifts across demand drivers that quicken consumer behavior cycles around trending and desirable supplement industry dimensions such as format or occasion expansion, brand strategy, consumer segmentation, and or ingredients and benefits. The result, well, the overall mainstreaming effect and the intense market expansion within the sports and active nutrition segment of the supplement industry has caused chaos for legacy companies, but also immense opportunities for those that can put together this new puzzle. So with Iovate Health Sciences International intending to continue operations beyond these bankruptcy proceedings, whichever company owns them and whoever leads them through the other side of this restructuring process will need to ensure it has the correct dinosaur mindset going forward. While being nostalgic about the past can be heartwarming, today's ultra-competitive marketplace requires constantly adjusted strategies that are stronger and more effective for survival. Lastly, since these bankruptcy proceedings are quite fresh, if details deem further content creation, I'll surely be back to update everyone. But I hope you enjoyed the first principles thinking that went into my latest YouTube video. If you did, can you do me a favor by hitting that like button? That quick and free action helps YouTube know my content is worth spreading to more people. Also, we're getting really close to reaching my next subscriber goal, and it would be great if you join me on this journey. But to do that, we need to fix the fact that slightly more than 3/4 of you that are watching this video right now are not subscribed to my YouTube channel, and that hurts my feelings. Regardless, I want to thank you for giving me some of your attention and time, and I'll see you on the next one.